This week's update on the Union Pacific Railroad Geneva Subdivision is on the engine facilities at Global 3. My goal here is to put the concrete walkways around the tracks just outside the engine house. As you can see, I've done a little bit of the work already. I removed the ballast next to the tracks, both tracks leading into the engine house. The ballast is still in place at the actual ties and the rails of the track. It's just outside of the ties, the ballast has been removed. I forgot to videotape myself doing this, so here is a brief simulation of me performing this very, very important task. First thing is, of course, to remove the engine house, set it aside, and then I used a sprayer to wet it. As you can see me here pretending like I'm getting the ballast all wet. After the ballast was thoroughly wet, then I got a scraper. In here you can see me pretending to remove the ballast. It really wasn't too messy doing it. The ballast comes out pretty easily. Once it's wet, it comes right up without any problem. Of course, to make sure there's no mess, I use my silent vacuum here. All done. With the ballast removed, I was ready to cut pieces for the cement around the tracks at the engine house. I used styrene for this time. Did not use the Smooth It from Woodland Scenics. The styrene here is 0.08 inches thick. Here you can see this piece, I had to sand it a little bit. It's not perfectly square because the two tracks come a little bit closer together there at the end. So 0.08 comes out to be about a scale foot in thickness, which is maybe a little bit thick, but once you get some more ballast around it, it works out to be pretty much perfect. And it is really good because it is about just a little bit higher than the ties themselves. So it's a good height for what we're trying to simulate here. Now you can see as I put them in there, the seams all lined up. And so I decided to switch it around here a little bit so that the seams don't line up with each other, so it looks a little bit better. I could have used some longer lengths of styrene so that it was just one piece, but I basically was using what I had on hand. And so this worked out pretty good. So here you have all the pieces laid out that will simulate the concrete around the engine house. I painted them, of course, with an airbrush. And now here I am reassembling them, making sure they still fit. I don't know why they wouldn't fit after painting them. They don't really change in size any. But just wanted to make sure everything is going where it's supposed to go before I glued it down. This is a pretty easy project, a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And I did try to get some information from satellite photos. The width of the concrete area is much wider than what we have here, but because of, glue appeared out of nowhere. But due to space constraints, of course, you have to always compress everything. All right, so here I'm just using some magical super glue that just appeared. And just put a little bit on each of these pieces. Always have to be very careful not to get any of it on your fingers, because it definitely sticks to your fingers better than anything else on the layout. And so I'll hold that down for a few seconds. Here you can see me multitasking, holding it down with one hand and gluing with the other. I just kind of put a bead of glue all around the edges, and maybe a little bit in the middle. This super glue is a quick setting gel type, or it's not really a gel, it's just a thicker super glue than what you would normally get just out of a super glue from the supermarket. Didn't quite hold there. Oh, you know what? Here I noticed that I didn't remove enough ballast. So to get this here, you can actually, this is not a simulation, this is actual removing of the ballast. This is removing it when it's dry, which is a little bit harder. It comes off a lot easier when it's wet, but for just a small amount there, don't want to wet the whole area. And here you have the actual vacuum sucking up the excess. Alright, let's try it again. I decided not to put more glue on, see if it looked like it was still fairly wet, so I went ahead and just reapplied it. See if it'll hold. It's a little bit more there on the end there, so we'll just apply a little bit of glue there. Hold it down. And the other side needs a little bit also. Just hold it in the middle, just the ends didn't quite adhere. Alright, there you go. I've already done the other pieces off camera. So here now we have all of the pieces. Nope. Oh, yeah, I have all the pieces done. And now that they're all glued down, I have to sand it down a little bit. Weather it to some degree. This light gray that I use doesn't really weather very well. I think the darker the paint, the better it weathers. And this is the paint from Woodland Scenics, designed for their Smooth It. Not all paint sands, I found out. Some paint just comes right off if you try to sand it, especially with the styrene. Even this Woodland Scenics paint, as you can see, is coming up off the styrene a little bit. It adheres to the plaster much better than it does to the styrene. Not real sure if I'm going to stay with this color, as with the other concrete. I may repaint it a few times, but we'll stick with this for now. I may take an airbrush to it and darken it up a little bit, possibly. You can see some locomotives in here. The engine house does not quite hold 2 locomotives. 1 2/3 locomotives. That's a micro engineering engine house, by the way. So it looks pretty good with the locomotives there. A lot of details yet to add, tanks and fueling stations and sanding stations and so forth. But overall, turned out pretty good. I mentioned that I had ordered some Jersey barriers from Shapeways, and I was expecting them earlier in the week, but it was one of those cases where it said it was shipped, but it actually was just the information was given to the shipper. They didn't actually get the package until like Wednesday, so I just got this on Saturday. But this is what they look like. Here's 80 Jersey barriers, or KRails concrete barriers from Shapeways. They're all kind of together. I was kind of thinking about how I'm going to paint them without removing them, but looks like I'm going to have to cut them up a little bit. The white doesn't really show up very well. Can't really see a whole lot of detail in this shot. Here I'm trying to decide what's the best way to snip these the little ties that hold them together. Alright, decision made. Just gonna turn the pliers around. I was actually thinking about what's the best way to see it on the camera. It came out pretty easily. Okay, so when you snip them off the little ties there, you do get 80 or 10 pieces in a row. You get 8 rows of 10 barriers, which isn't too bad. It helps in painting. You have to cut them off of the ties there. But before I do that, I will paint them. They actually look pretty good at this point. Oh. Alright, there you go. I have all 8 rows. This cost with shipping and tax and everything cost $31 for 80 barriers. And so here you can see I'm gonna apply some yellow paint. I did these for a little bit and decided after doing the first one here that I probably should go outside, since this is going to be a lot of paint. But here you can see me doing the first one. Don't want to asphyxiate myself with paint fumes. This is again the testers, which is water-based, so it's not too bad, but still. So anyway, here you can see 4 of the sets of Jersey Rail concrete barriers painted yellow. Paint went on pretty well, as you can see. Those look pretty good. I don't know if you can't really see too much on these shots of video, but they're a little bit rough where the barrier is narrow towards the top part of it. But overall, looks pretty good. So get 80 for 31 bucks. So that comes out to, let's see, comes out to like 60, no, probably about 40 cents each. Now here from the video, I have them on the layout. Here you can see a little bit better the roughness, and you can, especially compared to the BLMAs, which are very smooth. These are a little bit bigger too. I assume they're still scale, maybe just a different kind. So as you can see, as you get really close to them, you can see the roughness that they have. From a shot from normal viewing, if you're just standing there operating the layout, looking at the layout from normal viewing, cannot see the roughness at all. It looks pretty good. You can see the difference in size obviously, but I don't think that'll be a problem. But if you get up close, yep, you can start seeing the roughness. So it's going to be a problem in photography. If I shoot pictures and want to submit it to the magazine or just post on my website, or my blog, I should say. I don't have a website, but if I want to post pictures on my blog, it's going to be a little distracting. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I definitely will use all 80 of these for now, but I have a feeling once Atlas comes out with more of the BLMA barriers, I may switch over completely to those. We'll have to see. So then this is an actual photograph. Able to get a little bit closer with the photograph and can see a little bit more of the detail. And you can see they definitely are rough compared to the BLMA Jersey barriers. So I'll take a look, and when I have all 80 on there and maybe interspersed throughout all the concrete barriers, not sure how I'm going to arrange them, but we'll see. They'll definitely be good until I get more sets from BLMA. But I definitely think probably will go with a BLMA once I'm able to get all of them. But for right now, not bad. We'll see how it looks when it's all together. Thanks for watching the video, and stay tuned for next week's update.